changed the law. What's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border legally. It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just witnessed a train wreck, a total, complete, utter train wreck. Remember this moment in time, okay? Because you can tell your children and your grandchildren, wow, I remember the night the Democrat Party went down for good. I mean, what have they been telling us all along? It's just cheap fakes, nothing to see here, right? He's totally in his prime. Well, we got evidence last night that was not the case at all. He came out weak from the start. You have only to look at Joe Biden walk to start to question whether or not he's still there. And then as soon as he talks, forget about it. And apparently he had a cold on top of that. So the cold, plus maybe the teeny little bit, dare I say, of dementia. I'm sorry, if you've seen it in somebody before, you recognize it. Well, that causes some problems for somebody who's the president of the United States. And it was quite evident. We have a lot to play you here tonight. Welcome to the program, everyone. I am Trish Regan. This is the Trish Regan Show. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you share. Make sure you watch, if you did not last night, some of these clips, because they're pretty darn unbelievable. And you're saying to yourself, or at least I'm saying to myself, who the heck is running our country? Because clearly he's not. Clearly, he is not. I mean, maybe Jill. That's what we've talked about before. Can you imagine? Remember the commercial that Hillary Clinton did years ago? It was like, who are you going to call in the middle of the night? And she was trying to point out the inexperience of Obama. Here you go. You could do that commercial all over again. It would be, who are you going to call in the middle of the night? And all of a sudden, Jill Biden, Dr. Jill, picks up the phone because she's his handler. She's in charge. He's not, he just doesn't have the faculties right now. 12 minutes into the whole thing, he starts rambling on and on and on and on until Jake Tapper saves the day. I'm like, why did you do that, Jake? Watch.
Debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people, they cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid.
Wow. Okay, just wow. So you saw Jake Tapper come in, the moderator, kind of save him a little bit. He must have hit his 2-minute mark, but he didn't know where he was going. Joe Biden had no idea where he was going. This was just unbelievable to see. I mean, really and truly. We thought, maybe they'd help him out, give him some extra coffee, that kind of thing, like maybe they did at the State of the Union, and that he'd be firing on all cylinders, but he was not firing on all cylinders. Donald Trump, on the other hand, was fantastic. Absolutely, positively, spot on, fantastic. He had all the facts on his side, border, immigration, international stuff. I mean, you have only to mention what happened in Afghanistan. He had all the facts on his side. And his delivery was outstanding. I'm watching it, and I'm getting heated, right? Like, I'm watching this going, oh my gosh, what did he say on the economy? And what was so critical in that moment in time, and Donald Trump did this beautifully, was that one needed to stay calm. One needed to stay focused. One needed to stay centered. And this is what Trump did. So Joe Biden kept trying to go after him. He kept needling him and saying some kind of off-color stuff at one moment in time. And then he called him the convicted felon, this, that, and the other. Tried to allege that he got handed 9% inflation. That's a flat-out lie. And Donald Trump stayed calm. And he fought back with facts. And those facts matter. Look, it's pretty unbelievable. I mean, I think about just the humor also with which Donald Trump was able to deliver some of his comebacks. I mean, this is one of the best moments, guys. You remember this when he said, I don't really know what he said. I don't think he knew what he said. And we're all sitting there going, yeah, exactly, because we don't know what he said. And we guarantee you, Joe Biden doesn't know what he said. Watch.
I've changed the law. What's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we can do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people.
Yeah. I don't think he knew what he said either. I mean, it's amazing because you compare and contrast even Joe Biden of this moment in time versus 3.5 years ago. Go back to the 2020 debates. He's a different person. He's declined so quickly. Unfortunately, this is what dementia does. And again, I'm not a doctor, but sadly, I've seen it in loved ones. And it can move very, very quickly. And that was pretty evident last night. I think the American people saw that. The American people were shocked. Democrats even seemed to be shocked, which is kind of surprising because, we've pointed this out a few times along the way, and yet they were taken by surprise. But just read these headlines, ladies and gentlemen. The New York Times. Tom Friedman out with a big column today saying, President Biden is my friend. He must bow out of the race. Frank Bruni writing, Biden cannot go on like this. Patrick Healy saying, I'm hearing high anxiety from Democrats over Biden's debate performance. And Christoph writing, President Biden, it's time to drop out. I mean, when you've lost Nicholas Kristof from the New York Times, you got a problem. And we're going to get to that in just a moment because you're now starting to hear a chorus of Democrats. And I have some trepidation about that because I'm almost wondering at this point, was this kind of a setup? I mean, they had to have known. They had to have known he was going to bomb, right? Anybody who's been around him for 2 minutes, they know that he's not quite up to it. So why did they allow him to do it in the first place? Ask yourself that question. Why did they allow it? Is it because they wanted to have good reason to be able to wipe the slate clean? They wanted to get it done now? I mean, this was really, really, really bad. Really, really, really bad.